yeah, over to you. Sorry, any questions from Bridget or Abigail? You're all good?
Well, I think I was asked to come up to remember a story that might make people chuckle, so I might do that one.
Okay. For mine action. Okay, all right. Funny story.
Well, that's an interesting question.
I don't have anything funny that's appropriate.
Does it have to be about a professional thing?
Mine action is not funny. It's a very serious business. I've been scratching my head for a funny story.
Yeah, I have a couple of funny food stories. We were working on the Mozambique-Malawi border, and the place we were staying, every night we had stew with whatever, and we always asked what was the mystery meat, and the answer was always rabbit, until one night we found a little hand in it, and it was monkey. So we'd been having monkey stew every night, which was not what we'd expected.
The advertisement that I applied for explained the role of the NGO and that they were clearing landmines around the world, and it did say in the small print that there were opportunities for overseas travel. And one of my jobs that I did in the early days, I went on an assessment mission to Chad. So this one particular time I was being shown around by two amazing Chadian men. And a few days previously, somebody had been driving around in a vehicle doing similar to me, trying to assess where the mines were. And they ran over a mine, and the explosion resulted in the driver losing his foot that was on the accelerator. So these two guys that I was with were really anxious, and I could tell, I mean, they were speaking their local language. I could tell that one of them in particular was really anxious, and you could tell that he was kind of saying, no, I don't think we should go here. And the other guy was saying, it's fine. I mean, I could just tell this was the conversation. And I did start to become really anxious. And then my mind just cast back to opportunities for overseas travel. And I was just thinking, oh no, this is not the kind of opportunity for overseas travel that I envisaged.
And I suppose it's not funny, but something that set me up very well was I was dealing with a car bomb in a certain city in the UK. So I was sitting behind this car bomb on the curb, just taking a little breather, just to clear my head, when some guy just wandered by who'd been out for his morning newspaper. I just sort of stopped and looked at me. I was like, how you doing? Is that a real bomb? Yes, it's a real bomb, man. Okay, so what should I do? Should I maybe you should just get on your toes, man, or get your bombs out like I have. He's like, oh, okay, thanks very much, good luck to you. And that's kind of set mine action up for me.
It does make me chuckle. I'm not sure it's necessarily one of my fondest memories, but it does make me smile wryly whenever I think about it. It was one of the first times that I was acting as the EOD call out. I was contacted by UNRWA, who are the refugee agency, one of the biggest agencies in Gaza, and they said that one of their medical centres, that was a suspected item they thought had been buried by persons unknown during the night. So I told everyone to get into the med centre, close the door so that they were at a sufficient distance away from anything. If anything blew up, there wouldn't be any injuries. And I went to go and dig around to try and find what it was that they thought might still be there. Excavated, couldn't find anything, so I dug deep enough. So I started to cover it back up. And as I turned around, as I grabbed some more mud to go back into the hole, I found an enormous beetle. I swear to God, it was enormous. It was enormous. And I screamed out loud, and then realised that everyone in the med centre thought that something had happened. So I had to quickly sort of make everything safe, walk back round, and all I could see were little faces peeking through the window, and my interpreter looking absolutely terrified. And so I'm smiling, going, it's okay, I was just being a big girl. And so that's the story I always remind myself when I need to get my feet back onto the ground, that I'm a bit of an idiot in reality and I'm scared of big beetles.
So it was back from 2006 when I had just, like I said, just started in mine action in Kinshasa. And I was a young program officer, and we were going to host one of the chiefs from UNMAS in New York, which actually happened to be the director of UNMAS now, Eileen Cohn. I don't remember her role back at the time, and it was my responsibility to take care of her while she visited the UNOPS program and UNMAS program in Kinshasa. And so I took her out to see the bonobos, which are famous in Kinshasa. And bonobos are a relation of chimpanzees. But unlike chimpanzees, who are quite aggressive, bonobos, all social interactions are about sex. So they have sex for anything and always. And there I was walking around with this, at the time, for me, a senior director, amongst all these apes having sex everywhere and trying to talk very seriously about mine action and not really wanting to acknowledge what was going on in the background. And it was an awkward hour or two, but funny in hindsight.
I had a great experience leaving a little town called Yei in South Sudan many years ago. I knew I'd been there a little bit too long because I used to go to a little shop on a Friday night and buy myself 2 bottles of Diet Coke and a small bottle of beer. And I bumped into this person and I excused myself and I said, "I'm sorry." And I walked around him and went to the shop, came back and bumped into this person again. And it was only the second time I bumped into him that I realized that he was actually stark naked, 6'7" or so, standing in the middle of the road. Clearly had some mental health issues. But the first time I bumped into him, I hadn't even realized he was naked.
Quick story about the clearance of cluster munitions. This is 1996. I flew into a place called Chukadum in the South Sudan, and we were there for about a week. So the two of us cleared these cluster munitions with the help of the Sudanese People's Liberation Army, the SPLA, and that was a successful activity process. And so at the end of the week, we had been invited to have supper in the church. There's no generator, so it's candlelight. We're drinking warm fruit juice, and in comes a man with a massive plate of spaghetti. So I'm thinking, well, this is excellent. So we're going to have some spicy minced goat on our spaghetti. And next in comes another man with a great big bowl of what looks like potentially minced goat, although it is looking a little bit pale. Anyway, so we get our plates of spaghetti, and I ladle on the sauce, and everything looks great. And then I start to eat it and realize, in fact, what I'm eating is, in fact, spaghetti topped off with watered, warm Weetabix, which is a breakfast cereal. A memorable meal, but not up there with, it's not something that I'd repeat, per se.
I have a funny story involving Alan. So I once had to fly Khartoum, Kathmandu, Kabul in 3 nights. So I was in Sudan, and then I had to go to Kathmandu to close out for the closing ceremony of the program, and then I flew to Kabul to join Alan, and so I was a little bit jet lagged, shall we say, and I woke up at about 4:35 in the morning in absolute pitch blackness, and I had no idea where I was on the planet. And I was suddenly thinking, well, I'm not in a bed, I'm on a sofa. Put my hand down, right, and I realised that I was probably in Kabul, and I must have fallen asleep on Alan's sofa. So I went off to the loo, and as I came back, standing in the doorway in the shadow was a bearded, hairy figure in a shama kameez, which made me think that the Talib were in town and had broken in. And so I'm screaming, Alan, the Talib are here, and I'm trying to slam the security door, and this figure says, "Get out the fucking way, Heslop, I need to piss," and pushes me out the way. And it was Alan. So it turns out Alan had fallen asleep in the chair beside me, and when I'd woken up, I'd disturbed him. But between the confusion of jet lag and it being very dark, and the way he was dressed, I suddenly thought the Talib had broken into the house and we were about to be attacked, and it turned out to be a mad Scotsman.
Seeing as Paul's here, one of my favourite memories is when I was in Libya. A certain somebody arrived into the country using the military airport because the main airport wasn't yet open. He or she was coming for 24 hours, I believe, and had 2 suitcases full of pork products and other contraband, wine, etc., and including a newspaper rolled around his arm with a bottle of gin in it, and swiftly got through the airport with all of it in tow. And I just felt like it's a memory I will always have about the logistical supply chains that Mine Action has and always has in every field location, is that no matter where you are, you can always find bacon and beer.
I do remember, if I may say. So it was early morning, and apparently morning. It was Friday, and my friend wakes me up in a wee hours, and guess what? There's a gunman on the front door. I was looking at this, how do you call it, peepholes or spy holes, and there was a guy, two men with a gun, and all the adrenaline goes, and then we were just pushing the chairs, and so my friend was not the UN, but she was calling her warden and security guys, and I was calling the warden, and there were 2 guys in Mine Action who I called and said, I was like, you have to come now, there's these like guys outside the door really trying to attack us. And then so they were like, what? I mean, they were obviously asleep. So to cut the story short, I mean, luckily nothing happened, and our landlord downstairs basically chased these guys away. But when the 2 Mine Action, my colleagues, came, and I told them they had a gun, and when they showed up, I still remember, they just had an odd stick in their hands. I was like, what were you going to do with this stick? You're not going to fight this scammer with a stick. It was so funny. I mean, now it's sort of a funny story. It just shows sort of the camaraderie and the teamwork, which I had always enjoyed throughout the Mine Action Board. I don't think I'll get anything like that sort of things in the current environment that I'm working on. But I just felt very safe in the hands of a lot of our colleagues in Mine Action.
It might not be funny, but just you've got to expect anything to happen and just react to it, even if that reaction is just a shake of the head.
Thanks, man. That's great. It really was.